on the dot. So yeah, I just want to say, I'll introduce myself first, give people a minute or two to get in. So miigwech, everybody, for joining us tonight. Buju Ani, Gretchen Sands Campbell, and Dishnakas, Pakedunong, and Dinjaba, Shikandodam, and Ishna Bakwa, and Dallas. So my name is Gretchen Sands Campbell. I'm from Pakedunong. I'm Turtle Clan, and I am an Anishinaabe woman, and I am the Indigenous Education Special Projects teacher for grades K to 8. So I'm just so glad to see so many people here, and I hope some of you enjoy or joined our session earlier today with Nikan Sinclair. It was a great session. So miigwech for joining us today on this beautiful evening. So we'll just get started because I'm just so excited to have our next speaker here with us today. I've had the opportunity to listen to her speak and work with her a few times in my adult life. So I'm really glad that we're able to share this with you tonight. So our speaker tonight is from the Anishinaabe and Oneida Nation, and she has a background in social work and has worked in the justice system, the health system, education system, including in colleges and universities. She's been a cultural educator for almost 40 years, and she is a wonderful and caring helper. And I just want to say a big chimigwech to our speaker tonight for joining us. So Liz Akoenzi, miigwech for joining us tonight. So I'm just going to hand it right over to you, okay?
Okay. Oh, bonjour. Nisiton kadishnakas mishikas dodim. Mio shingabing donchpad. Deyat dela de tonata agra nishnabe queen down. Shaganash moswin les aquenzi. Me gotchka jamido feno gishgut. Me gotchka jamido for middle bomans a win. I just say me gotchka jamido for my life and all that is in it, for my children and my grandchildren. I ask Gajamnido, Creator, to shine light and love and healing on all of our title holders, our chiefs, our sub-chiefs, our clan mothers, our faith keepers, our lodge keepers, our language keepers, our ceremonial people, our pipe carriers, all of those ones that continue to wake up in the morning and speak the original language and pray for all of us, all 4 nations of man, and that we continue to acknowledge those grandmothers and those women that continue to pray for the water, for all people to have clean water, and for all of those men that continue to learn how to take care of that fire. And I say miigwech for that balance. And it's interesting that we're talking about that balance of life. And I'm a mother of 6 adult children, and I have 10 grandbabies. The last 2 grandbabies are twins. And I just absolutely am 100% in love with them, and I haven't seen them for a while, and I need to see them pretty soon because they feed my spirit, and they're just absolutely awesome little beings. And so I give thanks to my children. I give thanks to my mother, who is my greatest teacher in all of creation, who is the most resilient woman that I know. I say miigwech to all of those old ones, those ones that speak the language and continue to stand as younger ones up. Even though I'm a grandmother, I still consider myself to be pretty young in things that I know, but how I live my life, I live it through what I learned and understood from my mother and my stepdad and through the old ones. So I say miigwech for that. So with that thought and with that understanding, as I talk to you and share these teachings, because our teachings is our educational system. So I'll share what it is that I have come to learn and to understand over the years. And because being Nishnawik and being Hongwe, because my mother is Hongwe, my father is Nishnawik. So I come from those 2 nations. But for us as the original people, we are circular thinkers. And which really answers that question after I got older and start understanding, because I've always been a circular thinker. But when I was in the educational system, they forced us to think lateral, which totally messed me up. And I really had a hard time understanding their concepts because it didn't make sense to me, the way that I lived my life with my mom and my dad and the way that we did things. And even as I got older and went to college and got that little piece of paper saying I could help the people, it was still lateral thinking didn't fit to what I understood about our teachings. So to live that balanced life and everything that we do within our being is about relationships. And those relationships is to have that relationship with Creator or a higher power. And to me, when I say Creator, what I see and what I understand is that it is like a grandfather and a grandmother who are so beautiful and so kind and so caring. When people say to me, God, I only see a white, abusive man. So that's a different understanding about what that is. And because there's a history with that. And but Creator is that higher power. Gajamidi Do, Creator, the great mystery, the creation of all things. And some people might say God, some people might say Jesus, or whatever nation people come from, they have their own name for their higher power. But in our understanding, we say Gajamni Do, Creator. And that relationship with ourselves. It's important to have that relationship with ourselves, to know ourselves, to understand ourselves, and to have that relationship with Mother the Earth, because she truly is our mother. Mother the Earth teaches us, and especially as women, she teaches us about who we are as women. She teaches us about that female energy and how interesting that it is that Mother the Earth, and she takes care of everything. She takes care of the water, she takes care of the plant life, the animals, the trees, everything in creation. And she is the one who sustains all of us as human beings. She helps to sustain our lives. To have that relationship with our family members. And there's different kinds of in families that we have. We have our biological family, we have our clan family, we have our spiritual family, we have our ceremonial family, we have our powwow families, and we have families that are good friends and we consider them to be family. And I have some women in my life that are really dear friends of mine. And we have been friends for so long that my children have honored them and called them auntie. That is another extended part of our families. So family means different things for us. And because we are in relationship, because we are interconnected to each other and all of creation. And that's the other wonderful part of being in the world and living within that balance, is because we have an understanding that everything is interconnected. We are not separate from. We are connected to the plant life. We are connected to the animal life. We are connected to the winged ones, to the fin ones, to the four-leggeds, and to other human beings. We're connected to the moon, to the stars, to the sun, everything in creation, everything in the universe, we are interconnected to. How bold that we think as human beings that we have the power over creation. We don't. How bold that we think that we have all the knowledge. We don't. How bold that we think that we're smarter than animals. We're not. So something to think about. But what happens to even in the animal life, if an animal comes into a small town or a city, the first thing you want to do is kill it. The point is that we're in their territory where we built all of the houses and cement and big buildings and everything. We stomped on their homeland, their grounds, and we expect them to leave. So we need to think about that interconnectedness. And we are even connected to our past. And for us, we're connected to our ancestors, to our mother, to our grandmother, our great-grandmother, our great-great-grandmother, and all of our ancestors that were here since the beginning of time. And those are things that Western society's educational system doesn't talk about because they don't know that. We have a holistic way of viewing the world. We have a holistic way of looking at all things. And that when you look at that circle, there's no beginning and there's no end. We could learn and start with ourselves and have a relationship with ourselves and maybe learn about Creator later on in our life, or maybe learn about Mother Earth later on in our life. But we're in that family. So maybe that's where those first teachers come from. So to think about that, and those relationships are important, and that interconnected is important. And that we are connected to air. Without air, none of us would be here. We take for granted the power of our breath through our nose and out our mouth. And one of the things that I've learned, and I've learned this from the little people, you know, when they're crying, they're, and then they take that deep breath. They have their big cry and then they're done. Away they go play. They're easy to forgive people within their life. And when they get upset, they have a good cry, they're done, away they go. But how different that is with adults. We stop doing that. We're so scared of tears, and yet tears is one of our most powerful medicines. So that power of the air, of breath, is so important. That water, and we say water is life. We need to have water to sustain our lives. So sometimes when we're stressed out or hurt or tired or lonely or scared or whatever is happening in our life as human beings, and we have that good cry, drink water. The other thing is hanging on that water, because water is female energy, and we give thanks to that grandmother spirit of the water to help us to calm that when we drink that water. Always give thanks to that water, that grandmother spirit of that water, and to have that breath, to know that the fire is that male energy. And the water is female energy. And everything in creation is male and female energy, from the plant life, from the four-leggeds to the winged ones to the finned ones, in all of creation. Male and female energy come together to give life. And it's been like that since creation has been created. You know, and again, the earth is what houses all living things. And all living things on the earth has a spirit. And how beautiful that spirit is. Everything in creation has learned to live with inside of that circle. And everybody, all of those living things and those spirits have a purpose. They all came here for a reason. They all came here for a purpose, just as human beings have. And that within that, the four nations of man have come here. The black man came here for a purpose. They have their own way of being and their own worldview. The yellow man, they have their own worldview. The white man has their own worldview. The red man have their worldview. We have circular thinking. Every one of these nations of people, when they came to Mother Earth, they brought their own natural way of being. The black men have brought, and I can only share this little bit because I'm not going to be with you as long. The black man has brought that gift of that rhythm of the earth. The yellow man have brought that gift of slowing down the mind, paying attention to the power of breath and being connected to a higher power and to the earth. The white man brought the written word. The red man brought that balance of male and female energy, the pipe. And I know in storybooks and all those kinds of crazy things that settlers have wrote about us, they'll say peace pipe. What a disrespectful statement. It's not just a peace pipe. It's a sacred item. It's a ceremonial item. There's more to it than what we have read in books over the years. And so those things need to be corrected because they weren't written by us. But it's time for that to shift and to move. One of the greatest things about having that balance in life, and something that was not given to us or taught to us. And to be seen. I'm right here, I'm not invisible. And I don't necessarily mean see the physical body. See, do you really see each other? Do you really see yourself? Do you know yourself well enough? And even for the people we're providing service to, do we see them? Do you see the spirit in the essence of who they are as a human being? Do you see their gifts, their talents, their knowledge, their wisdom, even the little people, even from the time that baby arrives on this earth, already has wisdom and knowledge because they just came from Creator's world. They are full of light and love and energy. And some of our young ones might only come for a day. Some of them might come for 2 days. Some might come for a week, and they might go back to Creator's world. But they came here for a reason to wake us up. There's something that we can learn and to understand about life. To be heard. That I have something to share. I have something to say. I have something that I would like to have other people understand. And this whole thing around somehow, if we're the educators and whoever we're educating, that somehow we're up and they're below us. I'm a cultural educator. I never see that. We are all sitting in that circle. We are all the same. To be a good teacher is to be a good learner. To be a good learner is to be a good teacher. I learned it from the old ones. Oh my God, probably 30 some years ago. That's why I know what it is that I know today. Is I became a good learner for almost 40 years. And through that learning, I have come to learn about how to share what it is I learned from the old ones. To be understood. And what I call this, to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood, that is a spiritual need that all human beings are looking for. Every one of us, whether we're young or whether we're old, whether we're so-called educated in the Western system or not. But a pure fact that we're human beings, we want to be seen. See me, this is who I am. Hear me, I have something important to share. Understand me, this is who I am. What a beautiful gift that we can give to other human beings, and as educators, what we can do to plant that seed in the ones we are trying to empower so that they can learn something new for the benefit of their highest good. And when I'm out there teaching, this is how I teach. I teach in a circular format. And I think I could do lateral teaching. Doesn't work though. This is more productive. And some people might say, oh, it's too deep. I don't know. I guess it depends how much you understand about yourself. To me, it's about life. Everything here is about life. And one of the greatest and most wonderful gifts that we end up being able to share, to have that balance of life, is we have our ceremonies. And our ceremonies is about empowerment. Our ceremonies is about feeding our heart, our mind, our body, and our spirit. We have teachings, which is our educational system. In our teachings, oh, there's so much I can talk about that. Teachings tell us and shows us how to live a good life. It shows us we have what we call 7 grandfather teachings. Teaches us how we're supposed to live life as we walk upon Mother Earth, Kokomokwe. We also have the 7 stages of life, which is our psychology and what we're supposed to do in those different stages of life from the time that we are conceived and born and walk through the earth and until we leave to go to Creator's world. There's a whole huge understanding around that. You know, and to know and to understand that we have medicines, seen and unseen medicines we have. We have medicines from the earth. Water is a medicine. Fire is a medicine. The power of breath is a medicine. Our voice is a medicine. And then we have concrete medicines like tobacco, sage, cedar, sweetgrass. We have other medicines for sickness, depending on what's happening with us. We can go out and pick medicine out in the bush. There are some medicines that are picked at a specific time. It's not just about going to get it. There are specific times that you pick some medicines, and there's other medicines you pick at another time. There are some medicines that we pick in the morning, and there are some medicines that we pick after the dew is dry. There are some medicines you pick at high noon, and there are some medicines you pick before dark. It could be a part of a tree, it could be a part of a flower, it could be, sometimes we might have to travel, it might be beside a swamp, might be beside a river, it might be beside a spring, depending on what the medicines that we need. And to understand, there are some medicines that can't be mixed together, and there's some medicines that complement each other. Sometimes you just need to take one medicine. But we have all kinds of medicines. And one of the greatest medicines that we have is our tears. Tears is a sign of self-love and courage. The other part of that medicine is laughter. And each one of those medicines, when you have a good cry, it clears your mind, clears your heart, you breathe differently. You can feel that breath going into your body. Your body's more relaxed, and you're connected to your spirit. And that is the beauty and the joy in who we are as a people. And I am so, so grateful that we get to have that. Because we have a heart, we have a mind, we have a body, and we have a spirit. And to be able to live a balanced life, the old ones say we need to be connected to our heart, our mind, our body, and our spirit. So it's being very mindful about how we take care of ourselves. The mind, there's two parts of our mind, what I call two parts of mind, the ego mind and the spirit mind. And the ego mind keeps us living in the past. It keeps us small. It makes us doubt. We're self-conscious. We're not good enough. We have all this negative self-talk. But even in the ego mind, which I call the darkness part of our mind, it can also, I'm better and I'm smarter and I know what's best for those people. And I don't need to look at myself. The spirit mind always tells us what is good for us, never tells us anything that's disrespectful to ourselves, to our family members, to our community, to our families, and to people at large. It always is about the goodness, about seeing and feeling and understanding the goodness. That is the spirit mind. To be able to say good things, to empower people. Ego mind is about keeping people small. Spirit mind is about empowerment and standing people up. Our heart is where we carry our feelings. We as the original people are very heartfelt people. We truly feel from our heart, no matter what that is, we feel it. And I always get this from people, they're going, oh, you're so deep. I don't get that. It's like, I'm just being a good human being. And if people feel that because you feel deeply that somehow you're too sensitive or whatever, if I cry too much, oh, they see tears as weak and, and get punished and teased because you have tears. Creator gave us those gifts for a reason and that medicine to help us. And yet, as human beings, most human beings are scared of it. They don't know what to do if somebody else is crying. Oh, you got to be strong. You got to be strong. I don't know what that means when people say that. Being strong is crying. So in our heart, our laughter, one of the most beautiful gifts that Creator has given to us, and we have been so misread and so misunderstood because of laughter. Always got punished as a child for laughing when I was in school. And because they associate, or the message was, if you have laughter and you're having fun, you're not being productive and you're misbehaving. It is opposite for us. Laughter feeds our heart, our mind, and our body and our spirit. Laughter is one of the greatest medicines that Creator has given to us. And yet we shame-base other family members or children or other people for that. The old people always say laughter, laugh at yourself. That's probably the greatest gift you can give to others. And that's where the sense of humor comes from. For our spirit is what carries the goodness in who we are as human beings. The spirit always, always guides us to do good things, always. And the ones that are in that darkness are who are mean, are nasty, or hurt other people, even those ones that may kill someone or kill animals, or the violence that happens from one person to another. The old people would say those ones are without spirit. I understand that. It took me all my life to understand that statement. I get that now. So when people are without spirit and don't feel their own spirit, they go out and do mean things to other people. The body is where our behaviors come from. And the body remembers everything that has ever happened to us in our life from the day that we arrived on this earth. Some people can even remember when they were in their mother's womb. So the body always tells the truth, not the mind, the body. But we ignore our body because we've been so colonized, we doubt what our body's saying. Or if we get a headache or a backache or something, take a pill, take a pill, take a pill. We have our own medicines and our own way of releasing that energy from our bodies. And that is kind of my commitment to the people, that the people out there who are caregivers, my intent is to teach them how to help each other and help the people they're providing service to. But that's where our behaviors come from our body. And through Western society, their teachings is as long as you keep feeding your mind, feeding your mind, feeding your mind, feeding your mind, oh, everything will just be wonderful out there in life. Is that true? It's not been my experience. It doesn't mean that I still can't learn. It doesn't mean that I can't read. It doesn't mean I can't even respect Zoom. But the mind isn't all of it. And what happens to so many original people when we have to go into meetings and try to make positive change in different institutions, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's justice, we're communicating with a group of people that only are using their mind. We sit at the table and we are using our heart, our mind, our body, and our spirit. We are listening and paying attention because we want to have some kind of resolution. It's been the experience of the original people, the ones that were communicating only in their mind. They're still trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to get out of this? What's the institution going to get out of this? What's this agency going to get out of it? But it's never about the wholeness. How is this going to affect me, my family, my community, the nation? How is this going to affect the women, the children, and the land, and the animals? Human beings don't make decisions like that. It's purely just for that moment and whatever that institution may be creating those bylaws or policies or whatever that may be. We're always thinking holistically when whatever decision that we make, because it's not about us. And I, for one, as a grandmother, have a great fear that all these people that have the power to make change, they're not thinking about the women, and they're not thinking about the children. They're not thinking about the next 7 generations that are coming behind us. These decisions are only made to make money. They don't care what they're doing to the environment, to the earth. It's all about money. And they don't think about how is that going to combat the environment. It's always about, well, we're creating jobs. Well, that's good. People need to work. People need to make money. People need to pay their mortgage and have cars and live in nice houses. Everybody deserves to have that. There's no doubt about that. But there should still be a way that it doesn't constantly disrespect the environment and constantly pollutes the air and the water and the land. It needs to shift and to move. And if education is so great, why don't we have those kinds of people in those places? So we don't continue to ruin the land. Because what is it that we're leaving our great grandchildren? I'm scared what this land's going to be like for my grandchildren, from the twins. How is the environment going to be? Are they going to be able to pick medicine? Are they going to be able to have a garden? Are they going to be able to have a safe place to do their ceremonies without, contaminated water being there? Because water is the other part of our ceremonies. Are we really thinking about that? And we need to think about that, because it's just not the original children that I think about. I think about all 4 nations of children. What is it that we're leaving to these children? What is it that we're teaching these children that we can't have small towns and cities or wherever it is that we're living, where people can see each other, hear each other, understand each other? For my educational understanding and about living a good life, I have to learn both sides. I forced to be in a settler school. It wasn't a choice. And I was forced to be in a school where we were taught by priests and nuns who were not nice people, who were very abusive, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and also sexually abusive to us, and never learned any of this. What I learned was white was right and brown was wrong. And you just do what you're told. If a white person tells you what to do, you just stand at attention, because if you don't, you're going to get hit. You're going to get strapped. You're going to be locked in the closet. That's what I grew up with. And then I was told as a girl that I would never amount to anything, that I'd become a drunk. I'd have a bunch of kids. I'd live on welfare. I wouldn't have a job because I'm so stupid. I wouldn't learn to read and write. I'm so grateful that I learned about psychology. I'm so grateful that I learned from the old people. I'm so grateful that my spirit didn't allow me to believe in what those people said about me from grade 1 to grade 8, and even in high school. I'm grateful that my spirit was strong enough to be able to live through that. And then as I got older, to go seek out the old ones, to learn about living a balanced life. It's through our medicines, through our teachings, through our understanding, and through our healing. That is our educational system, and how beautiful that it is. It is so beautiful. The original world view by my relatives, all the aunties and uncles, those old ones that were able to maintain the language, those old ones that were maintained ceremonies, those ones that prayed for us, those ones that lived that kind of life and didn't stay caught in colonization, but were able to continue to step in their light, in their love, in that circular way of being in the world. I'm really grateful to them. And I will every day give thanks to those old ones that did that kind of work, those old ones that stood up and said, this is who we are, in spite of what the systems tried to do to us. I'm grateful to be able to learn and to understand about being interconnected, to be able to live that life. We were supposed to laugh and to cry, to pick medicines, have ceremonies, to have those times to work and to play and to enjoy life. And this is what the old people would always say, live life to the fullest. And what they mean is don't take anything for granted, but continue to learn about those good things. And when you learn something good, share it with someone else. So what I share with you is it's not necessarily mine. These are things that the old people have taught me over the years. But I just don't talk about it. I stand in the middle of it and I embrace all of it. Because I am a Anishinaabe Kwe. I am a Hongwe woman. That is who I am. And that's how I intend to walk through the rest of the world for the rest of my life until I leave this world, till I go to Creator's world. And through this way of living life, my children will make their lives better than what I had, just like I made my life better than what my mom had. And hopefully my grandchildren will have a different life than their parents had. And it goes on and on. But the truth and the reality is we're still learning two educational systems, our cultural way of being and Western society's way of being. And there needs to be that balance. And that's, again, it's about that balance of life. For us, we can learn both. The more we learn about our cultural way of being, the easier it is for us to be in Western society's educational system. Just like all of those people that come across from different countries and they come to college, university, or high school, or they don't have to give up their language. They don't have to give up the way that they dress. They don't have to give up their food. They don't have to give up their songs or their dances because they come here for a Western society's education. And yet we as the original people were stripped of all of that. How different that is. So we're working towards getting that back because we should be able to speak fluently. We should, it's a different way of being. Our language is so beautiful and it's so clear. There's no misunderstanding when you speak the original language. And we don't make up words and like the dictionary. When I was younger, that dictionary was only like that big. Now it's like that big because they take words from other places and other people. So it's always interesting me, the English language. And but the Anishinaabe-Moswin, it's really clear. Hungwe language is very clear, and yet those are two completely different dialects. They don't even sound the same. It's completely different. But the feeling when the old people are speaking the original language is absolutely beautiful. It feeds my heart, my mind, my body, and my spirit. And I might not be able to speak it, but I can see it in my mind's eye. I can feel the language. I can see it, and it's so beautiful. And I'm not a fluent speaker. I only speak Anishinaabe-Moswin Bungi. I only speak it just a little wee bit because my stepdad would not teach us. And I asked him when I got older, I said, Dad, why wouldn't you teach us the language? He goes, because I was scared that they were going to hurt you. And who's going to hire you if you spoke your own language? So even him, he was colonized, even though he was a fluent speaker. But he was doing the best that he could to try to protect us. And even to this day, for where I grew up, the neighboring town, there's still not one Native person that works in that town. Interesting how that is. So living that balanced life means being able to feed your body, to put that good nourishment into the body. And our relatives back in the day, before we got colonized and forced to be codependent on the system, our people always took food from the earth. And this grandma told us one time, she goes, this is the best way I can explain it. She goes, when you put that food into the body, she goes, you take the food that's in the trees, like the fruit, like apples and oranges, those kinds of things. And then she says for lunchtime, she goes, you eat the food that grows above the earth, like lettuce and tomatoes and those kinds of foods. And at the nighttime, she goes, you eat the food that's in the earth. So the potatoes and whatever goes into the earth, carrots, those kinds of things. She goes, and you put that into your body. But she says our people always knew where to find food because food grew everywhere in the bush, from the trees, from all kinds of plants. So they were very healthy back then because they're always moving and working and shifting, picking the right medicines, what medicines we needed, for our blood, for our heart, for our kidneys, for our liver. They knew what those medicines were, and so they would add them into their diet. We didn't have cancer and we didn't have diabetes back in the day before we got colonized. Diabetes came after we got colonized because of the hurt and the pain and the shame that was inflicted upon us from all aspects of society and all the institutions out there that didn't include us in it, excluded us. So the old people, they were always busy. So they were fishing or hunting or trapping, but they were always busy. And children are only arms length away from their mothers. The women would do the work. They would pick the medicines, take care of the gardens, and the babies were always close by. So they learned from the mothers. They learned from the grandmothers and the aunties. And they would play around, and yet they're still helping, but the women made it look like play. And so that's how they taught us how we took care of our bodies. And we always drank clean water, always put water into our bodies because they knew that that water was medicine. And for our minds, they would sit around and share stories. They would work from sunrise to sunset. And as soon as it was sunset, then they would share stories about the day, what they seen, what they heard, what they done. And the children are always close by, either playing or doing whatever, but they're listening at the same time. So that's when I learned that children can learn. They don't have to sit still in a desk. They can still stand up and sit in a corner and color, and they're still paying attention to what's being said. And I'm grateful that I was one of those kids when my parents would talk or when people would come and visit my dad and they would speak in the language and they would be talking about medicines and ceremony. I could understand what they're saying. And I wasn't interfering in the conversation. I was just back maybe sitting at the table coloring or drawing or something. But I still learned about it indirectly. And I'm grateful for that. Learning about the heart. The more that we understand our feelings and the more that we help other people and hold the space when they're feeling something, what a beautiful gift we give to another human being. Little people crying because they're tired, because they're scared, because they're lonely, because they're hungry. Children do not cry for no reason. And it's up to us as adults to hold the space and to reassure them that they're safe with their tears and to honor their tears. That's what's going to make healthy human beings out there, healthy adults. Our spirit, we feed our spirit in so many ways. Getting up in the morning, watching the sunrise, giving thanks for Jesus, for all that that big brother, the sun, gives to us. Giving thanks that I woke up healthy. Thankful that I woke up with food in the cupboard. Thankful that my children are healthy. Thankful that my mom is okay. All thanksgiving when that sun comes up in the morning. That feeds our spirit. Walking through the day and being mindful of our thoughts, what we say, what we feel, and what we do. That is the spirit, the essence of who we are as human beings. Going into ceremony, sometimes we have to go into ceremony because our spirit is just really low. So we have to go in there and let go of our stress, our sadness, our hurt, whatever kinds of things that are happening in our lives. And we go in there, sit in our lodge and let go through our tears and ask for that purification from Mother Earth, from the ancestors, from Creator. That is our ceremonial space and place, the most safest place in all of creation, to sit in the womb of Mother Earth, Sweat Lodge. So being able to have that balanced life, we need to take care of our heart, our mind, our body, and our spirit. It needs to be fed all the time. But we're not taught that in the educational systems. I think people are slowly getting to that place. People are slowly, people will go on a vacation, say, okay, I'm going on vacation. I don't want to have my phone. I'm not going to think about work. And they get regenerized. They come back and they feel good and they're back at work. Our people knew how to do that all the time. As soon as the stress gets up, let's go do ceremony. Let's go do our pipe. Let's go pray. Let's go sing our songs. But it's always with a number of us, and you can do it by yourself, but the energy is different when you have more people, because as human beings, we all carry energy. To sing our songs, we have no sad songs. All of our songs are about life. All of our songs are absolutely beautiful. Our songs truly are as strong as prayers. Our dances, when we dance, we're dancing for creation. We're dancing for people. We're dancing for our loved ones. We're dancing because we feel gratitude. for our lives, for our family, for our community, for our nation. So everything that we do in that balance of life is just not about self. It incorporates everything in creation. How easy it would be if, as a human being, that I could walk through my world and no matter what I did didn't affect my children or my mother or my siblings or my aunties or my uncles or my grandparents. But that's not the way life is. Everything we do affects so many other people in our lives. I wish more human beings would be able to think like that, no matter what it is that we do, to be mindful, but also to ask for that help. And I'm so grateful for our ceremonies because that helps us to balance our life out and to keep us back into balance. A very wise man told me many, many years ago when I was a young woman. He says, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect person. And he says, but there is such a thing as that when we are off balance, and something happens in our life because we're human beings, is to be a balanced person is to know what to do to bring yourself back into balance. And that's why this way of life works. Because if one of your parts of your being is off balance, we can go do ceremony and bring it back into balance. It's just such a beautiful way of being in the world. And you know, I would sit and I would grieve my childhood because I didn't grow up in this. I learned it when I got older in my life. And I wish I would have known it, how different my life would be. It would have been so enriched if I would have been born into it and where my parents would have lived like this. But because of colonization, it was already being stripped away by the time I came to this earth. My parents were already being colonized and missed out on that living in balance. It wasn't only until we got older and then my dad started to remember. Because we'd start asking, at least I would start asking him. So that is the balance of life. And that's just layers of it. If you can imagine this circle, but it's like layers and layers and layers and layers.
Liz, I'm giving
Where are
you
we at?
your 15 minutes right here. Well, we're at about 12 minutes now, okay?
Okay.
These
So
are
is
12
there any
minutes.
questions or thoughts that anybody has that wants to ask me in this
Yeah.
short time?
Okay, so if
Because I
anybody
can
has,
talk like forever.
I did so I could listen forever, but we need to be mindful of the time.
Yes.
Anybody has any questions for Liz, you can put it into the Q&A there, and we can ask it to her. So we have a few more minutes left tonight. So yeah, if anybody has anything that they would like to ask, go on ahead. Maybe we have a quiet.
So if you don't, I'm going to give you a test. Oh, just kidding.
It's like, oh my goodness.
Now we know how our students feel, eh? We're going to give you a test on this.
Test, yes. Mhm. Well, I was writing notes through it. Oh, we do have a question here. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, so we have somebody who said they might have some questions later for us, so we might have to reach out to you again another time, I think. Nibish
No problem.
Shognash says, Bonjour, Liz.
Ah, bonjour.
So I was really thinking about what you said. To be a good teacher is to be a good learner, and to be a good learner is to be a good teacher. And I think that's so important, right? Like the idea that we as teachers are learning alongside our students, right? And learning from our students and our children and the other little people in their lives. And I think that that's something that, you know, we always need to remember, that we are lifelong learners, and there's not a point where we're done, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's the excitement of life, is
Mhm.
always learning.
Yeah.
How bold that we think as human beings that we're going to know everything and learn everything about everything. I don't think so.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
We
are
do
we
have a
really experiencing life, you know?
Yeah, we do have a question. So what is one thing that teachers should share with their indigenous, okay, wait, now I lost it here. What is one thing that teachers should share with their indigenous students in their classes?
I think you need to learn and understand more about the indigenous communities around you, but about the positive things that are happening. I mean, oh my God, the media and everywhere, they can say all these rotten things about us and negative things. What about the positive things? You know, we
Mhm.
have more Native and First Nations people that are writing books, children's books, and we have more of our people who are into the culture. Bring more people from the neighboring communities, wherever your schools are. Bring those younger people that are dancing, that can sing and that can share that. You know, whether they're a lacrosse player or a powwow dancer, bring them in so that those younger kids can see there's positive role models. Don't assume that all Native children are into cultural things. We are still working very hard as educators and as knowledge keepers to continue to feed that fire of understanding and a positive identity for our original children, and it's, we're working hard. There still isn't enough of us, and what feeds my hope is you know, what Gretchen and Dallas doing what they're doing, because we need to have more people in all different aspects of the educational system, not just one or two. There should be brown people all through every school and in every educational institutions, because the more that they see that their relatives can do this, they're going to feel inspired, and we're their role models, you know. And to have people come in there with language. And one of the things I would really encourage educators, if there's going to be doing beadwork or you're going to make moccasins, don't call it a craft. That is art. That is our artistic way of being in the world. I'm so tired of that word craft. We're not just beads and leather. We're more than that, you know. And it's probably the thing is, try to always say something positive about the original people and find out what tribe that child is from,
Mhm.
and say something about, oh, Native people were the ones that whatever. One of the things I would plant to seed, there's an old man. He was an old Oneida man, and his name was Ray Fadden. And it's what they didn't tell you in school. And it's a video. I would encourage you educators to go look at that. He talks about what the original people have brought to North America. Those kinds of things, so that the Native kids, you can say, oh yeah, it was, you know, the Native people that, you know, brought lacrosse here. Well, what is lacrosse? Lacrosse is a spiritual game. What does that mean? You know, there's different things. We have different games that we do. We have a peach stone game. We have, you know, there we have all kinds of ways that we played and entertained ourselves. And, you know, so there's lots of good ways, but say positive things about the original people, because we have heard all of our life the negative things. And being the only Native child in any classroom, you know, and don't put them on the spot, because again, there's an assumption. If we grew up in our culture, we'd be so noticeable everywhere, but we didn't because of the system. So as educators, flip it around, you know, put some posters up in your classroom, bring those Native books, you know. The Good Mind is one of the best bookstores around for that has Native content, you know, for all ages, and even for educators. Absolutely wonderful books in there. But also to bring some of the older people in to share those teachings and to share those stories, to make it fun. Learning should be fun. It shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't be a painful or doubtful thing. It should be creative, and it should be fun. Children learn when it's fun, because it's the experience that they're going to remember. I, for one, my truth is, I can't tell you one good teacher I had in the public school system or high school, not one. College, I had one that supported me, who seen me, who heard me, who understood me, who helped me to get through the system. So see them, see the spirit of these babies, of these young people. and if you're teaching adults, other adults, you know, we're brilliant people. We have lots to share, lots to give. Let's create those relationships. It's important.
Awesome. Miigwech, I'm really glad that you said that too about creating those relationships. I think that that's a message that I often share when I work with teachers, is that we need to be building relationships, but we also need to be fostering and nurturing the relationships, right? Like it should be something that is ongoing. We just have just a couple more minutes. So I was just wondering maybe if you just talk a little bit about maybe ways that teachers could nurture or foster those relationships with people from the communities.
Is be real is probably the greatest thing. We can spot somebody who's not real a mile away. To be more mindful of the history, to learn the history. I mean, if I could have another hour, I would take you all through a historical impact, so you would better understand why the educational system has been so damaged to the original people of this country. There is so much to share and so much to understand. The Indian Act, the 60 Scoop, residential schools, those are not just statements, those are families, those are people. They have impacted all of our lives and certainly mine. And but the relationships, got to create those relationships. Truth and reconciliation is about the truth of the real history. Reconciliation, you need to reconcile with us. We don't need to reconcile with you. So it does take time, but it's so possible, you know, and we need to have those old ones come in and to share those stories with those babies. The other thing is create relationship with those older ones too in the communities. People that some people would call them elders, some call them knowledge keepers. And they're different ages. They're not necessarily have to be really old, but they can come and help to create that relationship, because they are our educators also. Maybe not the teachers in the sense of Western society, but they are our educators. And have them come in, create that space. It's probably, if you want to create the relationships, create the space. You know, and there's I could tell you it's like 10 people on top of my head if you want people coming to your school from all ages. So it's possible, but be real. It's probably the best thing I can tell you, is be the true sense of who you are as a human being. Simple.
Yeah, awesome. Miigwech, Liz. We have some compliments in here saying this was one of the best presentations that they've seen. Some Dallas said it's so important that our educators know this about our children, that we learn differently, and that spirit, you know, and that mental and the physical and the emotional is all a part of it, right? That's a part of all of us. You know, and I just want to say miigwech, Liz, for sharing this with us, you know, so that to remind us that we're all whole beings, and we need to see each other and our students and our kids as whole beings too. So it's just so awesome, as always, to learn from you, Liz.
Because see, when you see this, do you see it's all nations of people in this? And that's the beauty of our teachings. The first time I ever heard it, I heard it from our people, where they gave that teaching about the black man, the yellow man, and the white man, and then us, the red people. I never heard that any place before or since from any other nations of people. In all the places I've traveled, every place I've been, I've never heard that. So our people always knew about these other nations of people, but they knew that there should be a respect for each nation, that they have their own ways of being, to honor that, because it's the difference to me that's exciting. What makes us the same is we have a heart, a mind, a body, and our spirit. So see us, see all of who we are, just not a piece of us. And if it's interesting when I walk around in the world and people say, well, I don't see color. I don't think that's true. There's nothing wrong with seeing color, but honor the color of the skin of that child or that woman or that man or that old person. No such thing as you don't see color. I think that's a little bit of a BS statement. because if you didn't see color, you wouldn't say that. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and wouldn't see the struggle and the hardships and the good things too, right? So yeah, awesome.
Definitely. You are welcome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, miigwech. Okay,
Glad you-
so good. It's always so good to hear from you
it
and
is.
share with our teachers, and it's awesome.
Miigwech, Liz.
Maybe one day soon. Oh, maybe
Yeah,
one day soon we can all sit down and have a visit in it. Always
I
good.
hope so. I
So
hope
you-
so.
So take
Yeah.
care. Say
Yep.
Bama P, Guabmin,
Yeah, Bama P. Liz.
Miigwech.
Ja, Bamampi.
No.
Hey,
Bama P,
and I just-
Guabmin.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody we have more sessions tomorrow at 3:45 and at 7 o'clock. So I hope that everybody can join us again tomorrow. So miigwech for coming out and have a wonderful evening, everybody.